talk about stretching. How you can stretch the skin to make sure you tattoo correctly. And I'm going to give you some tips. So if you're not stretching correctly, your needles aren't penetrating the skin. They're just going like this. And that's not good because in order to get the tattoo to stay, the ink has to be under the skin, that top layer of skin. So if it's not penetrating the top layer of skin, what happens is it looks like you have a tattoo, but once it heals, all of your tattoo falls out because it wasn't deep enough. What you need to have happen is to stretch the skin enough so that your needle will go into the skin, deposit that ink, and when you pull it out, the ink stays under the skin. So let's say you set up your liner and it's all perfect. You have the perfect springs on there, the perfect machine set up, the perfect gap, everything, and you're ready to go. Everything's perfect. And then you go to do a line and your line barely comes out. Real light, real fuzzy line. And you're thinking to yourself, what the hell, everything's perfect on my machine, but I'm getting a really fuzzy line. One of the things you might want to try is to stretch your skin and then try to do that same line, and you'll probably see that once you stretch the skin, you will get a darker line. So there's several ways that you can stretch when you're tattooing, and one way is to take your thumb and your index finger and to pull them apart on the skin. And then what you do is you come in here with your tattoo machine and then you run your lines or your color in between your fingers. Now, this is an okay way to tattoo, and you have to do this sometimes, but one of the problems is that after tattooing for a while, your hands will get really sore. And this stretch right here is only going two directions. So that's only stretching two directions, but you can see if I put the palm of my hand, so you can see that stretching this way only goes two directions. It goes this way and this way. But a way that you can get a better stretch is to stretch 3, even 4 directions. And I'll show you how to do that. You can put your hand on the skin and then pull this direction. And you can also put your other palm on the skin and pull this direction at the same time as you are stretching with your fingers. You can pull this direction and this direction, and that's going to make that nice and tight when you come in with your machine and do your lines. If you're stretching with your fingers, you're only stretching 2 ways. And from things I've read, they will call this a 3-way stretch is when you stretch with your fingers and with your hand. But I would like to say that there is a four-way stretch, and that's when you stretch with your fingers and stretch with your hand going this way and the palm of your hand going this way, giving you a four-way stretch. So what are some things that will make this easier? So what are some ways that will make stretching easier? If you just stretch with your fingers, they're probably going to get tired and it's not as good of a stretch. So sometimes I just use my hands to stretch. And what I do is I will actually use the napkins or paper towels to help me stretch. What you can do is this method of rolling up your paper towel and then wrapping it around your fingers. And tucking it in. Not only is this helpful for stretching, but you can also come in and soak up some of your ink with this paper towel. But you can see if you angle your hand so that the paper towel is on the skin, you can use it to pull. And that way your hands don't get as tired from stretching with your fingers. You're using more hand, so you have to put less effort into your stretch. And I can just rest my hand here and rest my hand here and get a stretch without tiring myself out. And then what I would do with my other paper towel is just fold it up like if you were using it, and then set it on the skin while I'm working underneath my hand. And then I would stretch like that. Super easy. I don't even have to try very hard to get my stretch. Some areas are tighter than other areas, and you don't have to stretch as much. The skin on your calf might be nice and tight, but yet the skin on your stomach, unless you got a six-pack, is going to look like this. Your stomach might not be tight, it's going to be loose skin. And in that case, you're going to have to focus even harder on the stretch. Sometimes you might not be able to get a good stretch like this, so you're going to have to take your time and focus on one little area at a time like this if you can't get the skin to stretch really good. I'm working on a stomach tattoo right now, and the problem I'm having is having enough room to work and having the person's hips in my way, and also trying to stretch the stomach at the same time. So it's very difficult. So you can also use the person's body position to help stretch. So if the person's not stretched out, their skin's going to be loose like this. But if you have them stretch out, their skin's going to get tighter. And they even say to put a paper towel roll underneath the person's back, which will stretch that skin out even more. If you can have them sit in a position which will naturally stretch their skin out, you're not going to have as much of a problem. But no matter how much you stretch them out, you're still going to have to get in there and do your job. So sometimes I'll even use the base of my arm to stretch. I try not to use my elbow because I have a bony elbow and I don't want to put any pain on these people. But if there's enough room, I can even get my forearm in there and have my forearm help me do some stretch. So you can use the person's body position to stretch. And then you can also use the palm of your hand, your fingers, paper towels, your forearm, whatever it takes to stretch the person yourself. Something you should also be aware of is that sometimes you don't always want to have a super tight stretch. Sometimes it's convenient and helpful just to have a medium stretch or a light stretch. If you stretch and do a line, and you're stretching super tight, you get a nice dark line. But let's say that you don't want a super dark line, or you want to do some shading. So if you stretch really tight, you're going to get this. But without diluting your ink, if you let up on your stretch a little bit and maybe speed up your hand speed, instead of getting that super black line, you will get a lighter line. Or let's say you just did this dark line and you have some shading right next to it. So you're gonna stretch super tight, get your dark line, you need some shading, so then you loosen up a little bit and come in here for some shading. But if you hold this super tight and you spend a lot of time in here, what you're gonna get is, instead of shading, you're gonna get a solid area. But if you loosen up a little bit and speed up a little bit, you can get shading. So you can like this video, or you can subscribe to my page if you want to see more videos like this. Just to let you guys know, I appreciate your support. So you guys support me by watching my videos and making comments and participating with this page. This is a really interactive page. I look at your comments and I reply to them, and I will actually make videos because of certain comments. Feel free to leave comments and participate. It will really help improve this page. Also, if you want to help get supplies and fund this page, you can click on the Support Johnny Artist button. And what this is you can donate a small amount of money to help me get supplies and the equipment I need in order to continue doing videos.